Hey guys, how are you? And welcome again. Today we are talking again about Jeanette Winterson. Last time we talked about her debut novel, Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit. This time we're going to be talking about her next significant novel, not talking about Boating for Beginners, but The Passion. And that was the next significant novel that Jeanette Winterson wrote. She again won a literary prize for this one. But before we get started, our shop, remember we have our shop. It's got so many cool things on it, lots of books, whole load of stuff on our Redbubble merch shop. You should really check that out. There's writing services. There are things to help you with your writing. There are t-shirts, all sorts of things. Go check it out. There are links below. Okay, so our book today is The Passion. And The Passion is, unlike Oranges, it is not an autoethnographic novel. I think I've explained autoethnographic novels before. Someone has here, I'm sure. But novels that dig into the writer's own life for material, like Sylvia Plath, like I think Fiona Wright, Laura talked about her, those sorts of novels. Jeanette Winterson is not that sort of a writer. She is much more mythic. She does describe herself as being a modernist, though really her works are postmodern. Modernism is quite old and also quite fascist at times. So really what she is a postmodern writer. But really, you know, let's just say she can call herself whatever she wants. She's Jeanette Winterson. But her techniques are most definitely postmodern. I think it's because of her admiration of Virginia Woolf that she talks in terms of modernist aesthetics, though everything I've read has seen her described in postmodern terms. The other great influence in Jeanette Winterson's writing is Angela Carter. And you've heard me talk about Angela Carter previous to this. So The Passion is a historical novel. It is set during the Napoleonic Wars, and it focuses on Henri, a young soldier in Napoleon's army, and Villanelle, a Venetian woman who have independent beginnings to their stories, meet up in Moscow during the failed invasion of Russia, because Henri obviously is a soldier in the army still, and Villanelle has been sold to the army as a prostitute by her husband. And then their stories come together as they escape this icy world of Napoleonic invasion Russia. So the two narratives have two different voices. The two different voices are quite distinct and have very different starting out points. Then when they come together, you get these voices share the narrative until finally one voice takes over the narrative. So in that way, that's quite an interesting way of talking about it. The idea of The Passion is a book very much about love, but much as Oranges talked about love, but also love that wasn't necessarily the healthiest, The Passion is also about where does love fit in this. In Written on the Body, the catchphrase was, is the measure of love lost? And in this one, passion dominates the lives of many characters, not just Henri and Villanelle, but many, many characters within the novel have their lives dominated by and ultimately ruined by passion. Whether it is Henri, who directs his passion towards Napoleon as a figure that can return his enormous emotion back to him, as a political figure, and it's looking at the fact that political figures like Napoleon, these big, all-encompassing, tyrannical figures, kings, dictators, generals, can inspire this huge passion. This passion that should, well, that's the question. Should it go somewhere or should it be moderated? And that's really the question that Jeanette Winterson is asking, is passion actually useful to us? We talk so much in terms of passion, especially when we look at things like Valentine's Day, and it's so overwhelming. The iconography of something like Valentine's Day is overwhelming, and personally I find it a little icky. I like things that will undercut it a little bit. But we talk in terms of this huge overwhelming emotion, an emotion that is so big it overwhelms our humanity. How often do we hear, well, there used to be, I think less so now as we've come to understand what is actually driving things, but you used to hear a lot more the term crime of passion, this idea that someone was overwhelmed by emotion and generally killed someone. This concept that emotion that it can overwhelm your humanity is something that is very much in here. Because passion is not necessarily healthy. Passion is too much. It drives you too far. It drives you into things that will annihilate you, annihilate others, harm yourself, cause damage. It forces sacrifice. And if you're not willing to make the sacrifice, then somebody has to make the sacrifice. And is that a fair thing to ask of someone, to make a sacrifice for your passion? So there's that element of passion. But the other side of passion, and this I think you get when you think of something like crime of passion, is possession. So while Napoleon can invoke passion from his followers, Napoleon is insatiable in his passion for power, and everything that is not his already is his for the taking. It is there to be taken. So it is there to be taken, it is there to be conquered, it is there to have control and power over. And that also comes into the sexual relationships in the book. At what point does I have feelings for you, I have a passion for you, mean that you therefore are my possession? That line gets blurred when love becomes passion. When love becomes something that is grasping and wants ownership. And we see numerous cases of ownership. We see it in the Queen of Spades, who Villanelle has an affair with. We see the concept of ownership in the gambler she marries, the gambler who turns out to be a violent, possessive man who literally gambles his wife away, whose passion for gambling is beyond anything else, to a point that he will take another human's life as a stake in a pot. Okay, so which is how she ends up with the army. It's about the idea that you can own someone, and because this is Napoleonic time, one of the big groups who are seen as potentially owned are women. Women are a group that you can own, that you can put this possessive quality over. But are they owned as people, or are they owned as a body, especially when you look at the prostitutes, they're owned as a sexual service. The ability to make any sort of connection with them, not possible, because they are being used as objects, which is something you cannot do with people. People are not objects, they're sentient beings. You cannot own them. And yet, passion makes you feel that you can own them, that you have a right to own them because you have that possessive quality. Henri, at times, and it causes his break with Villanelle, is when he cannot see that his passion for her doesn't give him the right to act possessively of her. While she loves him, she does not return his emotion in that same annihilating manner. She has no desire to be again annihilated by another person's passion, as she had been by the Queen of Spades. So it's very much a book about love, but love gone to a place further than it should go, which is really interesting. There are places where there are limits on everything, and passion is one of the things that actually, in order to maintain ourselves, maintain our autonomy as human beings, maintain our ability to have a self-respect as human beings, we need limits on that. Because there is a difference between an incredibly generous love, which you would see in Henri's mother, and the passion that is demanded in so many different places. The other place that is demanding passion that Henri felt he couldn't, although he would have liked to, he felt betrayed by, was within religion and from God. He felt that he should get more from that than he was getting, because he couldn't moderate his passion in any way, shape or form. He found that the tranquility of genuine spiritual connection, the harmony, the peace that is supposed to come from a genuine genuine connection to the divine, a genuine connection to the spiritual, was not strong enough. It wasn't, it didn't create that, what he wanted. He wanted something to scream back in his face if he was screaming in theirs. And he didn't see that God could reciprocate. Of course, what he doesn't understand is that what he's asking for is dysfunctional, which is why what he gives it to and what gives it back to him is Napoleon, who is dysfunctional, a tyrant, a dictator who wishes to conquer the world. And when that is what is returning your passion, you really need to start thinking, oh, hang on, have I formed an unhealthy attachment somewhere? Is my attachment style maybe a little bit off? And so that's a really interesting element of it that I don't know that I always thought. This is another one of those books that I have read multiple times, and reading some essays about it to prepare for this, I think I'm going to have to go back and read it again now with this concept of passion in a different understanding and a different concept again, because I think that and this is what I actually really love about Jeanette Winterson's books, is they are little books. They have deceptively simple narratives, and yet you read them and then you read them again at a different point in your life and they say something different. So again, I'm kind of shocked that there isn't anything around online about Jeanette Winterson particularly, at least from people talking about her books, because they are these fascinating books. I highly recommend The Passion. Go out, have a look, let us know what you think about it. And I will see you again with another book sometime later. Hey, peace and love, guys. Peace and love. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.